It was just everything and anything was possible. And when I say that, I do mean every and anything. I mean, from females to drugs to anything was available for me.
At 21, with too much money and too few boundaries, Bobby found himself partying harder and harder, and he developed a habit for cocaine.
I was reckless. I was in it to party as hard as possible and leave a young corpse. Not that I wanted to die or anything, but the way I was living would probably be the quickest way to die.
Offstage excess showed up on stage, as seen at the 1989 MTV Video Awards. ABC's Chris Connolly was there.
At some point during his performance, a vial comes out of his clothes. And while he is dancing, he picks up the vial and keeps going. And from that moment on, I sort of thought, well, what's going on with Bobby Brown?
What was going on? A lot of indulging in drugs and women.
The first time you tried cocaine, tell me about that time.
I think I was just, wanted to try other things, wanted to try something new.
Did Whitney give you the cocaine?
No.
Bobby says in his upcoming book, Every Little Step, he found his bride-to-be, quote, hunched over a bureau, snorting a line of coke. He says she offered him a hit, but he didn't indulge at that moment.
Tell me the first time, Bobby, that you realized Whitney was using cocaine.
We was on a honeymoon, and I believe that's the first time I really saw her use.
Now, you broke tradition a little bit and saw her before the wedding.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was the first time I had actually saw her do drugs.
Cocaine.
Yes, ma'am.
To promote her new album and set the record straight, Houston sat down with Diane Sawyer for an interview that would leave everyone talking.
Why did Whitney decide to sit down with Diane Sawyer?
That is the million-dollar question. I do not know the answer to that.
She uttered the words, "Crack is whack." When you heard that, did you realize it was going to be as big as it was?
No. I thought she was joking. I laughed my tail off. I laughed so hard.
Why'd you laugh? What was it funny?
Because it was funny. She said, "Crack is cheap."
People remember vividly my colleague and friend, Diane Sawyer. Crack is whack.
Wow.
Crack is cheap. I make too much money to ever smoke crack. Let's get that straight, okay? We don't do crack. We don't do that. Crack is whack.
People cannot let that go.
Diane Sawyer, love her. Just bad timing. We both needed to get away from what we were doing. There was no reason for her to be on television at that time.
What kinds of drugs were you using?
Cocaine, alcohol, weed.
In his book, Bobby Brown admits to abusing cocaine, marijuana, and heroin in addition to alcohol.
There have been rumors that Whitney was in a relationship with a female friend. Do you know that to be true?
No, not that I know of, no.
You've heard those rumors before?
We heard them a long time ago. Yeah. But no.
Not true.
Never, not true.
Among the revelations in his memoir, Every Little Step, My Story, Brown claims Whitney was bisexual. In an interview with Us Magazine, he says that he knew of his late ex-wife's relationship with her best friend, Robin Crawford. Quote, "We were married for 14 years. There are some things we talk about that were personal to us."
Bobby was charged with domestic abuse.
Can you tell us what happened?
Thank you. I don't know what happened.
On the evening of December 7th, 2003, Whitney called the police claiming that Bobby had hit her in the face during an argument at their mansion in Alpharetta, Georgia.
Police say that Houston called 911 Sunday, saying Brown slapped her hard in the face, causing a cut and a bruise.
Did you do it, Bobby? I didn't do nothing.
Bobby says he pled guilty to avoid a lengthy public trial, but he still insists he never raised a hand to her.
I wouldn't hurt nobody. I wouldn't touch nobody. I got 2 daughters, I got a wife, beautiful mother, and 4 sisters. I would never do anything to her. We've had our spats, but as far as me being violent towards her, I've never been that.
It's not like Bobby was a wife beater in any way. No, I was there. He was leaving town, and he did not strike her.
Bobby, tell me this. In 2003, police responded to a 911 call. Set the record straight for us. What precipitated the 911 call?
Oh, we were playing with each other, going crazy, you know, just being us, crazy people we are. We was playing in slap boxing, and pow, she hit me, pow, she hit me, pow. And, you know, I hit her a little bit, just, you know, tapped her. But my niece called the police. She thought Whitney was serious, but we were all just playing.
What do you mean by she thought that Whitney was serious?
She took it on, my niece took it upon herself to call the police. But it was nothing. It was nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Did you hit hard?
Who? Did she hit hard?
Well, you say she hit you hard.
No, I didn't hit her hard. Not at all. No. I've never been a violent man towards a woman, ever.
But you did admit in the book that you did strike her once.
Yes, I did. Me, at the time, trying to maintain a sobriety. The person that you're in a relationship is not going along with it. It was rough. I heard the news actually through Ralph Tresvant. He had his phone in his hand, and he said he just got a text. And he just pulled me to the side and pulled me outside and said, you know, I just heard this, you know, that Whitney had just passed. And I was like, what? And I immediately got on the phone and I called my daughter. And
did you get through?
Yes, I did. But someone else answered her phone because, you know, she couldn't talk at the time. And told me that Whitney was gone. And I was, I mean, I just started crying, and it was just...
Bobby, Whitney's death came as a shock to everyone. Where were you when you found out?
I was actually on tour, performing, you know, and it was after a sound check, and me, Ralph Tresvant, and a couple of friends went to grab something to eat at a restaurant before the show. And Ralph came in, and he was like, P, I got to talk to you. I talked to you, come outside. And I was like, I didn't know what was going on, and he told me.
Did you believe it?
I didn't believe it at first. And then I immediately called my daughter, and she told me.
What did she say?
She said, yeah, Daddy, Mommy's gone. And I don't know, I don't know, I just started screaming, and heart felt like, you know, it had dropped out of my body. I couldn't, I don't know. I was in complete shock. Just crying and crying and crying, and
And how much did you have in your bank account?
I had lots of money in my bank account.
The notoriety was only attracting more crowds. Bobby's sold-out tour grossed more than $25 million during its 3-year run, and Bobby was spending the money as fast as he was earning it.
I was just buying any and everything. I'd be on the tour bus and I'd see somebody drive by in a nice fancy car. I would have the bus follow him. I'd jump off the bus and give the man cash money for his car and drive his car around that city and probably leave it in that city. I've left many cars in many different cities.
Because I had way more money than she did, cash-wise.
On March 4, 1993, music careers took a back seat to parenthood. A baby girl, Bobbi Kristina Brown, was born in Newark, New Jersey. Mom and Dad were thrilled. But just 1 month later, Brown received a bill from the IRS for $1.3 million in back property taxes. The government placed a lien on Brown's Atlanta mansion and put the home on the block. Whitney's company, Nippy Incorporated, came to the rescue, purchasing the property at a silent auction.
I came into the marriage with money, left the marriage with nothing.